The season starts tomorrow as the Islanders take on the Hurricanes in Raleigh. We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about how the absence of Matt Martin will affect the identity line. And we've got our Islanders birthday of the day and much, much more, all coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast. Gil Martin, so glad you could join us today and every day as we talk all things New York Islanders. And remember, we are available every Monday through Friday with a new show right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. And we want to thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Lots to discuss. We know Matt Martin and Semyon Varlamov will start the season on the injured list. But how is the absence of Matt Martin going to affect the identity line? We'll talk about that on today's show. We'll also talk about a question we got from a listener, Ryan, who was asking about the Islanders' recent struggles in Raleigh. We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll have our Islanders birthday of the day, a great goalie who had one excellent season with the New York Islanders and one pretty good season as well. And a whole lot more all coming on today's episode. If you've got something Islanders related on your mind, if you have a question, a comment, a topic that you'd like us to discuss, feel free to email the show. The email address, lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we talk about whatever it is that's on your mind. You can also follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Isles, and you could follow me, Gil Martin, on Twitter at Ice Wars, NYRVSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all the latest Islanders news, notes, and happenings as the regular season gets underway tomorrow. I am so excited for the start of this season. A lot of anticipation surrounding the New York Islanders, and quite honestly, so, because this team, really is, in my mind, ready to battle for, may not be place, may not be, but ready to battle for a Stanley Cup. And, if you go back to the Islanders dynasty years, even, I believe they would have only won. Now, there was no President's Trophy back then. I think they only had the best record in the NHL once out of the 4 years they won the Cup. And one thing that dynasty team did indeed learn is that they knew that the playoffs and winning the Stanley Cup was more important than winning during the regular season. That the President's Trophy is kind of an empty and hollow thing. So, again, the Islanders went to the conference final the last two seasons, and yet in neither one of those seasons did they finish first or second or even third in the division they were playing in. So regular season, got to make the playoffs, but that's really what the regular season is for. We want to talk about the identity line, and as we mentioned, Matt Martin starting the season on the injured reserve, and it looks like Ross Johnston is going to step up and be the replacement for the first few games for Matt Martin until Matty Martz is ready to return. And, to me, Ross Johnston is a little bit underrated. Yes, he's limited. He is not going to be a 20-goal scorer in the NHL, even if he played 82 games. I don't even think he'd necessarily be a 10-goal scorer this year with the Islanders. Not the best skater in the world, but willing, very physical, can dig pucks out of the corners, great on the forecheck, and certainly ready, willing, and able to drop the gloves. But Ross Johnston, I think, is a respectable fourth line winger in this league. And the only reason he doesn't get more of an opportunity on the Islanders, realistically, is the depth that this team has. But to me, the issue is this. Cizikas, Martin, and Clutterbuck, they are together, the chemistry they have, the way they work together well, they are greater than the sum of their parts. And when you take one of the three out of the lineup, even if you replace them with a more skilled player or a different player or however you want to put it, you lose that certain chemistry that elevates those three when they're together. So I do hesitate a little bit to say that, okay, Ross Johnston is coming in and everything is going to be the same. It's not. And that is not a slap against Ross Johnston. To me, like I said, I like Ross Johnston. I think he's good enough to be a player in this league and to contribute on the fourth line for the New York Islanders. But there will be something missing. And Matt Martin gives you a little bit more offense than Ross Johnston. He's a little bit faster afoot than Ross Johnston. And there's just a little difference in his game when push comes to shove. So it isn't ideal, but I think that, over the short term, Ross Johnston is certainly good enough to get the job done. And hopefully, the Islanders not lose all that much. But there will be adjustment. And, we don't know how long Matt Martin will be out. He has been skating. It's an ankle injury, according to the reports that I've read. But with a 13-game road trip to start the season, in my mind, that's when you need the identity line the most. And, losing out on that chemistry, to me, is definitely going to be a little bit of an issue for this as we look forward. It's going to be interesting. We're going to see how the Islanders handle it. Again, if it has to happen right at the beginning of the season is the time you want to deal with this kind of a situation. And hopefully Johnston plays well. The Cizikas and Clutterbuck make whatever adjustments they make. Part of the benefit of having all three of these guys be veterans is that they can adjust and do what they need to do. So it's going to set things up well, and hopefully the results will be good. Michael Dalcole, by the way, cleared waivers, so the Islanders will be able to send him down to Bridgeport, and that happened on Tuesday, so just wanted to update you on that. We have got a lot more to discuss on today's show. We'll talk about some of the Islanders' recent struggles in Raleigh. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about the final roster is constructed, plus our Islanders' birthday of the day, and a whole lot more. All of that still to come on the Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Built Bar. Did you know that Built Bar has so many delicious flavors? It really is the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, and there's something for everyone. And when you hear the list of the 9 permanent flavors, you'll know why. Cherry Barcia, mint brownie, double chocolate, orange, German chocolate, and my personal favorite, salted caramel. I mean, that combination of sweet and salty, really, I love it. And that's why it's my favorite. But if you haven't tried all the flavors, you can order a mix box, and they'll send you 2 of each of the 9 flavors so you can figure out which ones you like the best. And, not only are Built Bar the best tasting, but they're healthy too. Check out these macros. Each bar has 17 to 18 grams of protein, only 130 to 180 calories, just 4 or 5 grams of sugar, and 4 or 5 grams of net carbs. Amazing flavors, all tasty, all healthy. And Built Bar is the official protein bar of the U.S. track and field team. Right now, go to Built.com, use the promo code LOCK15, and you'll get 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com. So we did get an email, and I've sort of been saving this till we got a little bit closer to the start of the season, because the Islanders open the season tomorrow in Raleigh. This is from Ryan. He didn't say where he was from, but he is going to the season opener. Here's the email. Hey, man, just started listening to your stuff recently and really like it so far. Thank you, Ryan. I'll be in attendance for our regular season opener in Raleigh, and thought of a topic of discussion. Having been to a ton of Islander away games versus Carolina, they have always seemed to struggle against this team, whether it be regular season or the playoffs. Could you go into depth about our recent history versus Carolina, especially away games at the PNC Arena, and what could be different this year, hopefully with a win in Raleigh on Thursday? So, Ryan, thank you for that email, and thank you for listening. It's always appreciated to hear kind words from you and from our listeners, and always appreciate that. So I did a little research. Islanders have struggled at times in Raleigh. They lost both games in 2019, 2020 on the road before COVID hit, and then everybody went into the bubble. But overall, believe it or not, they do have a all-time road record in either Hartford or Raleigh of 33, 39, and 5. So it's not great, but it's not horrible. But they did lose both games in 2019, 2020. And as you mentioned, there was the playoff sweep in 2018, 2019, where they lost both, they lost all 4 games of that series, but lost both road games, obviously, in Raleigh. And then during that regular season, they were 2-2 on the road, 1-1 the year before. So, there is that issue that the team struggles in Raleigh a little bit. And it could be a matchup thing, the way the Canes have played. And they always have to take that in consideration. But overall, to me, I think this team is going to be just fine. And the Islanders are a team that is well built for the road. And that's because of the style of hockey they play. They do keep it simple. They are defense first. They, I think that the way they play is almost better suited to the road, where you just want to forecheck and cause turnovers and play solid defense and wait on the opposition to make mistakes. So it's well suited for them. Now, look, Carolina, they are a good hockey team, and they are not the kind of team that's just going to roll over and die. And I think, in part because they are a non-traditional hockey market, and they don't necessarily have as many fans as, let's say, the Flyers or the Penguins or the Capitals. They tend to get overlooked, but they have a lot of talent. And we'll talk more about the talent tomorrow when we give our more in-depth preview. But look, Sebastian Aho, quality player on that first line. Jordan Stahl can still get the job done. They are strong on defense. And again, the goaltending, Frederik Andersen and Antti Ranta now going to be the 1-2 punch for Carolina in goal this year. And yeah, it's a situation that they're not an easy team to beat. They will give the Islanders a little bit of a challenge. And, the crowd in Carolina, I'll tell you, they can be loud. They are enthusiastic when they need to be. And it does make for a pretty good home ice advantage for the Carolina Hurricanes. But I think this Islander team can handle the situation. I think that they are able to play well. And I think that emotionally, they will be ready to take on the Carolina Hurricane and give us a good performance on opening night. And here's the thing that I think you have to take into consideration. Lou Lamoriello and Barry Trotz, and we've talked about this on the show a number of times, they like having a veteran roster. And you look up and down this roster, these guys, with maybe one or two exceptions, this is an experienced team that is capable of handling any road situation, any set of circumstances you put in front of them. I mean, Zdeno Chara, Zach Parise, Kyle Palmieri, J.G. Pajot, Anders Lee, Brock Nelson. These are guys who have been through the wars. Josh Bailey. The only two relatively inexperienced guys on this roster, right now are Oliver Wahlstrom and Noah Dobson. And everyone else is really a veteran. So I think this team will be fine, that they'll be able to handle the road trip better than maybe they have in the past, and that when they take to the ice tomorrow night, that they will be ready and well prepared, and that this is going to be the start, in my opinion, of a very special season for the New York Islanders. And I am looking forward to it. I really, really can't wait. Look for the forecheck. Look for Cizikas, Ross Johnston, and Cal Clutterbuck to sort of set the tone for this team. And, in a situation like this, I think Ross, the boss, might just be just what the doctor ordered as far as setting the tone come game one. And I don't know whether or not Barry Trotz will start that fourth line, or maybe he goes with the Pajot line to open the season. But either way, the Islanders will be ready. And Ryan, I think they will handle the situation very well and have a strong performance in the season opener. And for a full preview of the season opener, make sure you join us tomorrow when we will preview that game and get you ready for all things Islanders. We'll also have some bold predictions for the upcoming season, and we'll be ready. This is great. I am looking forward to it. We've got more to come on this episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast. We've got our Islanders birthday of the day, a goalie who really had one outstanding season for the Islanders and another pretty good season as well. We'll talk about that and a couple of other roster notes as well. So more to come on the Locked On Islanders podcast. And once again, we want to thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. This episode is brought to you by BetOnline. We're back and better than ever. All eyes are on the gridiron as teams are back on the field for another football season. And as always, BetOnline is your number one spot for all the pro and college football action this season. With a new updated website and interface and even more odds, props, and contests, BetOnline continues to be the number one source for everything football. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. And don't forget to use our promo code LOCKEDON, one word, Locked On, to receive your bonus. From football, basketball, boxing, hockey, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for this season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day. We want to wish a very happy 51st birthday. Make it a 52nd birthday, my bad. Former Islanders' birthday, by the way, was actually yesterday. And Rollison played his college bowl, was to the NHL with the Calgary Flames back in 1996, 97 for Buffalo, Minnesota, Edmonton, and then joined the Islanders during the 2009-2010 season. Spent the first part of 2010-2011 with the Isles, but he was the primary goalie in 2009-2010. Ended up winning 23 games, losing 18, had 7 ties or overtime or shootout losses, and a 3.00 goals against average, a 907 save percentage. The following year, a 2.64 goals against average and a 916 save percentage. But the Islanders weren't as good around him, and he was only 6-13-1 before being dealt to the Tampa Bay Lightning, and that's where he went on a tear in the playoffs. And then with Tampa Bay the following season. And Roley was a good guy, always enjoyed to talk to, a real veteran by the time in the Islanders, and he's playing in front of a young team, but still managed to get the job done, Islanders. And we're going to go back and look at one of Dwayne Rolison's better games. The IL, March 13th, 2010, at the Nassau Coliseum. The New Jersey Devils are in town. Jan, who previously played for them, he was the Devil goalie and a main role between the for the New York Islanders. Getting on the board first, Mike Motto, his second from Rod Pelly and Dean McCammond, just 52 into this game, 1-0 New Jersey. But the Islanders even it up late in the period. Freddie Meyer, his third from Tim Jackman and Josh Bailey. Islanders and Devils tied at 1 after the first period. In the second period, the Islanders break ahead. John Sim, his 10th of the year, from Richard Park and Jack Hillen at 11:59. Islanders are up 2-1. And then with Ilya Kovalchuk off for high sticking, the power play gets going. Mark Streit, his 10th from Franz Nielsen at 12:49. After 40 minutes, it's 3-1 Islanders. The Devils, they took a lot of shots in this game, and they pulled to within 1 when Ilya Kovalchuk got his 36th. Dean McCammond, the assist. At 1:41 third, Islanders lead cut to 3-2. And then the Devils got a power play opportunity with Blake Como in the box. Sean Bergenheim, a shorthanded goal, his 6th, and the Islanders skate away with a 4-2 win. Dylan Reese was in the box for that penalty, and it was Bergenheim from Blake Como. So the Islanders beat the Devils in this one 4-2, despite being out by a big. Islanders had 29 shots on goal. The Devils had 40, and Dwayne Rolison on his head 38 saves to earn the Islanders. No Islander had multiple points in this game, and Blake Como led all Islanders goal, but all those 38, including 8 shots by now Islander Zach Parise and 8 shots by Brian Ralston, 5 for Patrick Elias. So the Devils all over the place, and Islanders would have won this game if not for the of Roley, the goalie, and we wish Dane Rolis all the best as he celebrates another. Interesting move by Lou Lamoriello as far as the way he things with Corey Schneider and Kiefer Bellows. The deals that they were not officially filed with the league, they had been announced, and that allowed them to be made official. Yeah, basically with submitted, so now they passed waivers back. Like State Islanders get a feeling that Bellows will get forward. Season and the Islanders very cap at Connie Boyd officially on long-term extra $6 million in cap space, and then go up to even fly. That means they're only signaling. And that into. Thanks for making a full preview of season opener in Raleigh. So definitely join us for that. Now, make your second listen Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Host Scott Cullen leans on his decades of fantasy hockey insight and experience every day to help you be the expert of your fantasy league. It's free and available on all platforms. That's going to do it for this episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast. Have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. And of course, let's go Islanders.